Welcome to the Awakening podcast, where we have truth tellers and not whistleblowers, where we have facts and not conspiracy theorists, the podcast with solutions. You can find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. I also found out this week that we're number one in the podcasts, so thank you all for our listeners. My guest today, it's kind of a different show, but something close to my heart because I've experienced corruption in courts and with guards. So please welcome to the show, Tony Brady.
Hello, Roy. How are you? And many thanks for taking the time to allow me to come on the show and have a chat about my son Aaron's situation here in Ireland. So much appreciated and thank you.
No problem at all. So, first, nobody is aware of the story, so you'll have to start from the very start of what exactly has happened and go through it, and we can discuss it then in detail.
Discuss it. Right. On the 14th of October, just past, my son Aaron was sentenced to 40 years in jail for the murder of Garda Adrian Donoghue. He was found guilty on the 12th of August this year after a trial went on for nearly 10 months. How do I start with it? The trial was due to start on the 8th of October 2019. There was a lot of legal argument in relation predominantly to American witnesses, we call them at the moment, or people who give statements in America, who said that my son Aaron told them he shot a cop or he shot a guard. A lot of legal argument over that. The court case didn't actually start until the 27th of January this year in front of a jury. In October, we had 8 books of evidence for the trial, which had been disclosed to us. By the time 27th of January came, we had nearly 50 books of evidence. So the whole disclosure package is obviously questionable. In relation to the evidence, there's absolutely no physical evidence my son Aaron was anywhere near the credit union in Lordship where Garda Donoghue lost his life.
That was in, I believe, it was 2013. So
yes, 25th of January 2013. And at that time, Aaron was in trouble with on Garda Síochána. He had driven cars through Dundalk while under the influence of alcohol and wrecked cars and was on the radar for the guards. He was actually going through a court case at the time and he had pleaded guilty to reckless driving and dangerous driving. And he was that was part of how we found ourselves here. He was on the radar, so to speak. And I suppose if I take it from the 26th of January, the morning after Garda Donoghue lost his life, Aaron and his friend were stopped at a checkpoint. And he told lies.
Sorry, just to interrupt, just to let people know, yes. Garda, because we've got an audience all around it. The Garda is the police.
The police, yes.
So that they're aware.
Yes, yeah. So, on Garda, the Garda are the Irish police force, and obviously they had cordoned off the area in and around where the murder and the robbery had taken place. And my son and his friend actually stayed within 2 kilometres of where the incident actually happened. So that in itself is an issue we have. They came to a checkpoint, they were stopped, and Aaron told lies. And the reason he told lies is because he was at illegal activity the night before. We live along the border, and there's a thing called fuel laundering. And I'm not sure if people are aware of what that is. It's evading tax duty on road fuel as a part to agricultural fuel. So if people want to look up diesel laundering,
just making a few bob for himself, basically. I mean, people do make some money. That was way.
Unfortunately, where we live, although I love where we live here on the Louth Monaghan Armagh border, but it's a sort of a rite of passage. Some kids go to California, and other young people where we live, rite of passage is unfortunately be involved in illegal activities like this along the border, whether it's smuggling or diesel laundering. So Aaron was involved in that. He told a lie which didn't match up what his friend said. And even that, again, this is the human aspect of the case. Even that in itself, you'd imagine if you're after more than a guard 12 hours previous, you'd have your story straight coming to a checkpoint.
Well, you wouldn't actually go near a checkpoint in the first place.
No, no, he could have stayed. Now, this all happened in the Republic of Ireland, and we live just north of the border. Actually, if I look to my right, I have a window here. I can see 3 houses, and 2 of those houses are in the Republic. So he could quite easily have stayed here. He had a number of friends where he could have stayed within the north of Ireland and not go back down near where the murder and the robbery had taken place. So, and it just sort of escalated from there. There was some leaks into the newspaper, and within a couple of days, his pixelated picture was on the front of newspapers, and it just escalated from there. And there's obviously the rumour mill, and people believe what they see in the papers.
Absolutely.
And from that, obviously, Aaron's court case was ongoing for the cars and the havoc he had caused in Dundalk. And he just got scared and afraid, and he left for America in April 2013. And I suppose people, he was afraid. He was in a very, very bad place at that time. We actually got the phone call on a Sunday morning. He says, "Dad," he says, "I can't do this." He says, I just have to go. I'm not hanging about." And for a long period of time on that Sunday, we didn't really know until Monday morning he'd been to America. We actually thought he'd taken his life that morning. So we found out on the Monday, thankfully, that he went to America.
I mean, he obviously didn't have any kind of, even though he'd pending cases, he mustn't have had any kind of, he mustn't have been in jail if he was able to travel to America, because, so he, like, you basically had a clean slate, because they wouldn't let you in if he had been in prison or anything prior to that.
Yes, he had no record prior to that. No, he was actually, he was working with, he was an electrician, and he was doing quite well. He's actually quite a, not thank me, but he's quite a clever, intelligent young man, and he was doing well as an electrician. He worked with 2 different companies, and at that time in 2011, 12, and coming into 13, the recession had hit here, and he was actually working with an electrical company who were fitting agricultural sheds, and their work just stopped because the grants had stopped from Europe. And the work it literally fell off a cliff. So that's how he ended up working at the diesel. And he was involved in a good relationship at the time with a young girl. And I think at that time he was about to finish with the diesel and the laundering, because in that game, the people working at the lower end, like Aaron was, tend to, you could have a load of money this week and no money then for 4 or 5 weeks. It's a nice enough lifestyle when you have it. You have £1,000 this weekend and nothing then for 3 weeks. So,
and just for those, because I worked in the construction industry in Ireland, and that was more kind of the 2006, 2007. But it's similar, I know, in the round 12. Like at one stage, yes, Ireland was building like 95,000 houses, and then it went down to 5,000. Everybody that's a tradesperson, and that's all orchestrated by the banks. The whole system is corrupt, and everybody that's a trade person is basically then just left on their own to fend for themselves. So whether you have a mortgage or just trying to survive, so people then are just, I mean, they do what they need to do to get money.
Yeah, well, as you said, you've been involved in the construction. The bottom fell out of it, and people are just left. They are left hanging. They're left there, and we've always felt that here along the border, I suppose we do feel sometimes we're second-class citizens, that we're painted with that, and the media obviously are very much to the fore on that. It suits them to say the South Dama, it's bandit country, is terms that are used. It's exactly the same as what happened in Limerick with Stab City.
Yes. I actually worked in Limerick for, I don't know, about 4 years, and it was way safer than Cork. And I'd be talking to people around the world, and they'd say Stab City. And it's like, because the media is corrupt. They basically tell people what to believe, and it's all orchestrated. And unfortunately, they ruined the image of a city by basically saying you'll get stabbed in that city.
Yeah, it was crazy. So
I know what you mean when you say you're tarred with the same brush on the border.
Yes, exactly the same. And South Armagh is thrown in, and they use it very, very carefully, and it's very curated in the media, the way they use it, and when it suits South Armagh and bandit country and border country and that type of thing. And like, as I say, as I look out the windows here, I see school teachers, accountants, bricklayers, plumbers, ordinary people. And we're allowed to be portrayed as this. And again, it suited along the border here and was used very much during the course of Aaron's court case. Again, very subtly, but nicely used along the border and how things operate in the border. So we had also that to contend with. And Aaron felt at that time in 2013 in April that because his picture was in the paper and his name was being used, he just felt pressure that maybe there was more police and activity and different things around the border. I'm not sure there was actually, but that was the feeling he had, and he withdrew into himself for a period of 6 or 8 weeks. And a couple of his friends just seen what was happening to him and give him the opportunity to go to America. And he went to the United States, and he made a very good life for himself there. And until 2017, when he was arrested and deported back to Ireland. And that in itself is it's a dubious part of the case, but it's something that will be dealt with later on when we get Aaron free.
And does he have a child? I think he did. He's a child.
Yes, yeah, he was very lucky. He met a young girl, Danielle, from Tralee. She's an American citizen, but she's back home in Tralee. And Danielle and our family have been absolutely fantastic. They've stood by us. I don't think we would have got through this without them. And the little boy, Dara, he's 4 now. Yeah, so Aaron was speaking to him yesterday, Zoom call, and so he got his presents.
That must be. I mean, it's good that he can see, but it must be hard because that's a kind of critical age for the child. That his father is actually taken away. So it's like the child is actually suffering as well.
Yeah, it's the tough end of it now, because obviously this time of year, well, for everyone, I think there's a lot of people suffering and they're separated at the moment, but only for Danielle and our family, like, they were the very first to sit up, and this is what we were trying to portray to people, because on Garda Síochána, the police actually went and told these people in Aaron's in-laws that I was the head of IRA in South Armagh. I had killed people. I had authorised murders. I told these people, and like, these people all of a sudden, oh my God, what's my daughter involved in here?
Of course, because unfortunately you start believing what you could, like, unless you've witnessed it. I mean, I have seen corruption on all different levels, and unless you've witnessed it, you sometimes it's hard to fathom that a police officer can tell a lie, or a detective can be telling lies. You just assume they would never do something like that, but unfortunately, that is not the case.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And Danielle and her family sat around the table, and it was actually Danielle's brother said, hold on a second here, Dad. He says, you've met Aaron, because the parents before they lived in New York before they moved back to Tralee. So they knew Aaron, they'd met him, and they broke bread with him, they had ate, and he said, listen, he says, we've met Aaron and we know, what do you think, Dad? And he says, and this is what they told me, like, they know the way Aaron sat and spoke about his mammy and daddy and his sisters and his family, and said, no, there's something not right here. And I remember that journey down to Tralee very well. It was a nerve-wracking day, and we just met these people and they listened to what we had to say. And we had a good bit of the information at that time that I've already unveiled on my vlogs. And I went through some of it with the family, and they said, well, yeah, that's fine, we'll stick with this. And they have done every inch of the way, and they've been absolutely fantastic. And really only for them, because people are, even here where we live, the community have been fantastic to us, but they're still a little bit afraid of it. Everyone's afraid to even speak about it. And I think people maybe didn't want to broach the subject with us, but it's totally different now once we've started to get our message out there. The community's been absolutely fantastic. We've never had any issue or any problem with anyone here in the community. I was involved with our local football club here. As I said, I was honoured to be chairman across Glen Rangers for 6 years, and I offered my resignation at the time because of the newspaper and the media coverage. And again, that would have been one of the reasons Aaron would have, he took it very bad. It's something we will detail. I thought I had it here beside me. I don't actually. I forgot newspaper articles where it says Ulster GA official son involved in murder, and Aaron couldn't handle that because they're very much GA family.
They're
That's
touching a nerve. I mean,
that's my
he loving his parents, and then they attack the parents. They do that intentionally to, hurt him.
yeah.
It's and
Yes,
as well as hurting yourselves and your wife. I mean, it's terrible to be doing these things.
Yeah. So that was tough, and we were actually sort of running the social club in the local club at the time. But I went every Saturday night, and no problem. People, you do have a feeling that people are talking about you, but I presume they were. But they've been the community's been absolutely fantastic, and some of the messages we're getting, and the handshakes. There's that little extra squeeze, little touch on the shoulder. And fantastic. And that's what's given us the strength to last this long and then start producing our vlogs to get our message out there. So without the local community, we wouldn't have been able to seek that from further afield. We wouldn't have gone looking for acceptance further afield. I think only our community has been so strong.
The people around you, definitely, they lift you up, because I mean, this is obviously terrible on the whole family, but like when you've got people around you, and I think at the start why people are afraid, they know that they can be attacked as well. They know that everything is tracked, and once they then see a bigger kind of community coming together, supporting you, then they go, okay, it's not as bad. But at the start, people are afraid. They're afraid, like even now with the lockdown, people are afraid to come out and say it, even though they believe. Like, I talk to people and they'll say what I'm saying and everything, they're total in support, but they're afraid to give a thumbs up or a like because they think that it'll come back to them. And so it's the same situation for yourself.
Yes, very much so, and it's getting people to do that thumbs up and like. And I've even had some of Aaron's friends, and say one in particular, a young man here, and he's a very good business. It's an oil business, and himself and his dad, and they would be very straight down the line, but he would love, Aaron looked after him very well. This young man had a sort of a drink problem in New York, and Aaron would have looked after him, and he's home now, he's back, he's got his family now, and he's got a good business. And he's cried to me that he's afraid to go to see Aaron because of the repercussions that would have, stopping his lorries up and down the road. And so that's the level of fear people have. And exactly what you're saying is true. And people are just afraid to just give that thumbs up or a like, because the repercussions of it. It's the society we live in now, I'm afraid.
And are you being shadow banned, since we're kind of talking? Like, because I mean, I know not just me, but I have a circle of different people, and because I've got a few podcasts, and one is Polish, and I can see there's 3,000 and 4,000 people have seen it. I put up something on this, and it's like 10, they'll show 10, even though I've shared to 20 groups, and I've got like 3,000 friends. Like, it's impossible. But we found different ways of getting the message out. But it's obviously the same for yourselves on the social media.
As you know, we got involved with Keelan Harrington and going to Ultramile. So Keelan's been excellent and structuring what we do. I just give him the information, and Keelan structures it. And we do know for a fact that our website was attacked. It was taken down a number of times. And because of the way Keelan has that structured, it's not an ordinary Joe soap sitting in a sitting room that done it. So it had to be, they had to have a certain amount of power. Yes, backup, So Keelan's shifted things again, and the website's getting fantastic hits, and we're creating, hopefully, as people will see, episodes and bring each phase of the case along as we move forward, and hopefully give people some sort of insight into what's happened to our son.
And like the thing with that is same with us. Like, we know when I've had a video taken down from YouTube, one of my friends, we know that when they're doing that or attacking websites and everything, because I've had guest doctors, pharmacists, all their sites are taken off. You're doing something right when they do that, because why would they bother?
Yes.
You're touching a nerve. You're obviously, Aaron has been blamed in the wrong. They're using him as a scapegoat, and they don't want this to get out, so they're attacking your website. So that's, even though it hurts, it's great to know, because that they're hiding something. If they're attacking you, they wouldn't care otherwise. They'd have everything ring fenced. They'd have all their ducks lined up. They don't, and I mean, like, we'll discuss it now in more detail, all the different things that basically why I believe from all the stuff I've seen, why it doesn't seem right. So you can actually, tell the different things that have come up during the case.
Yeah. These things they have given little subtle things with Aaron. They tried their very best to break him in prison. He's been absolutely fantastic. Again, I know where we get support from. I don't know how he's handled what he's handled and listened to what he's listened to. He's had dozens of interruptions with his access to his legal team. This is way back, right through his while he was being held on remand. And even today, I think there's 6 prisoners on the wing he's on. He still hasn't got his Christmas stuff and things like that. Absolute nonsense. But they're not going to break the Bradys. But I have to say now, we were lucky enough to open the prisons for some visits, and we had a visit last week, and the staff in Portlaoise prison were excellent. They were lovely to us. They were very good. But again, it's sub judice at the minute, but his paperwork's been taken, it's missing, and it's unreal. His own personal paperwork, which is privileged. And these people know this, and it's only simple little things, and it's something the public may never know about or never understand. It probably wouldn't make a lot of difference to the average lay person, but to what we are trying to do, it's vital, and they're trying to break us down, but no, that's not happening.
So his spirits are strong. I mean, you got to see him last week. So he's keeping his strength up. I mean, he must see light at the end of the tunnel as well with what you're doing, because like, he's lucky, to be honest with you, because not everybody, like, you're basically dedicating everything, your whole family, to do this. Like, and I mean, there might be other situations as well, but you're really putting all of your energy, you're doing a lot of work to do this. Obviously, we all try to do as much as we can for our kids, but not everyone can do that. And it must be giving him some hope that he's actually seen a bit of light and saying, listen, like, he knows himself. So deep down, why would he accept something that's not true?
Yeah, very true. And we've always said it. If we believed Aaron did have any involvement in this horrific crime, there's no doubt in the world we'd have to accept it. I wouldn't be sitting here speaking to you, Roy. I wouldn't be doing the vlogs. We'd have to accept it. That I don't know how we'd accept it, but we would have to accept it. Sit quietly, and we would support him as best we could, and we'd have to deal with it in our own lives. But what's happened is totally wrong. He had nothing to do with the murder of Adrian Donoghue. He wasn't there. And hopefully, as we talk through the evidence and I give some insight into some of the things that have happened, that'll become clear to the public also. And
I know that, what you want is you actually want the real criminals to be caught, because you're constantly acknowledging that, terrible crime has been committed, that you want the real perpetrators to be behind bars.
Yeah, certainly. Well, obviously, if the real perpetrators are apprehended, obviously we'll have Aaron home here with us. Yeah. It's as simple as that. That's the bottom line. So we can't look any further than that. We had I had a long period probably before Christmas last year where I was almost trying to solve the crime, because there's a lot of backstories, different gangs, different people that was living in the area, different events that had happened, and it probably detracted from what we should have been doing, was using our defense to attack their prosecution, and we didn't. We were very defensive in our defense, and we actually had to change our legal team on the 25th of May. We changed just our solicitors. Very happy with our legal counsel, our barristers. But our initial solicitors, although very good administratively, very good paperwork, they weren't prepared to investigate and go and correlate information that I had already given. And all I can say is the prosecution were allowed to create and curate a story that was at the very best fairy tale. A lot of it's fairy tale stuff, and they're allowed to get it through court January, February. and into March, and they had set the foundation then for this inference. Is all inference, and it was actually a friend of ours who warned us about this inference. We thought that we would get justice, that people would see that the witnesses in America were obviously telling lies because of criminal records, immigration status, all sorts of drug possessions, and all these people are still in America now. It's crazy stuff. But the most important, everything I've shown the people thus far, if they look at the episodes in relation to CCTV, general descriptions that are actually fact, that were totally airbrushed out of the case. It's just, as far as we're concerned, it's horrific, it's horrendous, and we have to bring that to light. And that's gone past now, unless Aaron gets a retrial. And I'm hoping the pressure we can generate from what we are doing here as a family will put pressure on the judicial system to give Aaron a retrial, and all this can be looked at again, along with, at this moment in time, Aaron's appeal is in, and like there's 50 points of legal things that I'm not even touching on at the moment that our legal team are working on, along with all the inaccuracies and the make-uppy information that was in their case. So we just have to be careful and go along methodically. We have a roadmap which I've worked out with ourselves and with Keelan, and we will stick to that roadmap. We'll not be deviated from it. We've had the trolls who try and generate arguments and say nasty things about you. Faceless people, you've seen them yourselves. That
of course, yeah.
No profile or no history. And
you'd actually know by going into their profile. One, it was created, and two, it's obviously sometimes there's people with no friends, and that's how you have two things: you delete it or you ignore it. You do not engage, because sometimes you try to get defensive, but it never works. All you're doing is your energy out. What you want to do is you want to move forward to build your case, and by actually concentrating on these trolls, as you call them, you're taking your eye off the ball and you just ignore them. And in the end, what actually happens sometimes is some of your followers will actually attack them. They'll kind of say,
that's what has happened. Yes.
So, and that's important. And just going back a small bit as well, like, I mean, obviously I don't know your first legal team and everything, but just from my experience, I know that a lot of court cases, the decision is made beforehand. One legal team is talking to the other legal team. They agree everything themselves, but you don't know anything about it. So you don't know, like, I mean, obviously, like with the different evidence and everything, it was very bad representation, which hasn't helped your son. So, like, I mean, we get into some of the points. I mean, one, there was actually a detective witness that had described it. And I mean, that's a critical point. I think it's
critical point. Yeah. Well, that from the very start, and I suppose one of the most worrying, the worst few days, I think it was just before Detective Joe Ryan was his name. He was in the driver's seat of the vehicle in which Garda Donoghue was the passenger seat. They were escorting the cash transit, and they attacked from the driver's side. Four males came over a wall, and two of them came to the Garda car. And Joe Ryan said very clearly that the radar was 6'1", and indeed another statements he said 6'2", and we know he had perspective because there was a second radar beside him. So my son Aaron is only 5'7", and 5'7". I'm exaggerating at 5'7". He's not even 5'6.5", but we'll say 5'7". So if Aaron had to be the man with the shotgun, it would mean that the other radar was less than 5 feet. So because he had that perspective, so there was, and I was very sick at the time. I thought Mr. Ryan was going to come in and try and fudge the 6'1", but I have to say, in fairness, he didn't. But because the way the court case had went, we weren't attacking those points. We weren't.
I don't blame you, because like I have had, just in Poland and in Ireland, I've had a load of court cases, and I've realized how corrupt it is. I've seen judges, straight away that there's judges corrupt, there's solicitors corrupt and everything. And you don't learn these things till you've actually gone through it. So like you can't be hitting yourself in that, because at the end of the day, your legal team didn't do what they should be doing. I mean, that's what they have studied for years. They should have known these things. They should have been hitting these points, but you don't know what went beyond behind the scenes. Unfortunately, it's very hard to find out these things. But now, thankfully, you've got a better legal side, and hopefully you'll get the case opened up again.
Yeah, hopefully we will. And the problem, to a certain degree, the first wave of the legal aspect of it was focused very much on the USA and America. These people that supposedly Aaron had confessed to, and there was massive focus on that, and it sort of allowed them to get the whole what physically happened here in January 2013, like. Along with the 6'1", there's a blonde woman who's disappeared, who was driving the car. The best witness, a lady, a senior credit union worker, is looking directly at the getaway car, because she had faced her car out the gate to head away, and the car pulled in front of her for 57 seconds, and she was looking directly at an Irish blonde woman, and she's been totally erased from the case because they couldn't link Aaron to any 25-year-old blonde woman. Now, initially, Aaron's girlfriend, a blonde girl, but she was only 17 at the time. She couldn't really drive, but she was with her family and friends at the time. So, and that was initiated on Facebook and some of the newspapers that it was this suspect, which was Aaron, and his girlfriend were involved. And then it just took legs and ran, and that was the beginning of it. The Garda Síochána, the police force, went down a rabbit hole and totally refused to come back. Another witness, a credit union worker, said the raider that another raider attacked her car, broke her window, and shouted at her, "Give us the," I'm going to swear, "give us the fucking money," repeatedly. And she said it was a Dublin accent, and it was actually a member of the police force with a Dublin accent who interviewed her, took her statement, and shouted at her, and she agreed, yes, that sounds like the person who robbed my car. And Aaron had no association. They couldn't associate Aaron with anyone with the Dublin accent. So the next part of our, I'm not sure when this podcast can out, but next part of our story is we're going to dismantle the fictional gang created and manufactured by the prosecution and Garda Síochána. It was actually Aaron himself who discovered some CCTV footage of people who they said were part of the gang. And Roy, it's unreal how they were allowed to in court. I think you may understand this. They just say names and put names out there, and then in the jury's mind, they become gang members, people that had absolutely nothing to do with anything. But it was, I would have to say, very cleverly done. I didn't understand it at the time. There was certain parts of it which we will bring to light, which I believe that the Garda Síochána were actually committing perjury. They were saying that certain things happened on phones that didn't, and showed Aaron's friends' pictures. Oh, it was very well done.
I've witnessed it
intentional
with detectives here in Poland telling complete lies and catching them out as well. But I remember in Ireland that there was a whistleblower, Maurice McCabe, I think it was his name, that exposed some of the crimes. Are you familiar a bit with that?
Yes, yeah. Maurice McCabe was a member of Garda Síochána, and he was bringing to light some issues in relation to guards wiping away speeding fines, tickets, and all this sort of thing. And he became a whistleblower. And what that man suffered was just horrendous. He was accused of, I think, the worst thing you can accuse any man of is abusing his children. And through sort of a health board, TUSLA, here it's called, they actually created a file which showed that Garda Maurice McCabe was being investigated for abusing his own children, which was totally fictional. Someone had copied and pasted a case and transferred it over to and put Maurice McCabe's name on the paperwork. And as far as I know now, I just can't say at the moment for certain, but I don't think anyone was ever brought to book for that. And
I think they actually nailed a rat to his door
rat
as
to his
well.
door.
Yeah,
Rat
like
to his
he
door.
definitely, like they were saying he was a pedophile and everything, and he was able to prove he wasn't. But unfortunately, it's like in Yerke, you're guilty until you can prove yourself, and these people are attacking you in the wrong direction. Like it's basically us telling you no, that we should be protected by the law. I mean, even during this lockdown and marches all around the world, you see the police beating the crap out of people. So if you think they've got your back, they're loyal to the wrong people. And unfortunately, it's the same in Ireland.
Yeah, very much so. And there's been many cases here in Ireland. I suppose I've been in contact with a lot of people, and a lot of people have contacted us since we started our campaign, and it's scary. And I'm nearly afraid to tell some of those stories because people say, "No, that's not happening in Ireland." Like what happened to McBrearty's in Donegal, and I was guilty of this before we found ourselves in this situation. I had a fair idea of what happened. I had a fair idea how they had attacked that family, and through their own representation in a tribunal, they cleared their name, and yet it was all let go unpunished or unquestioned. And it's people like yourself, Roy, and what the anti-corruption people are doing, and hopefully, I think we're involved with those people now, and we see the good work they're doing, and hopefully we can help in any way. But to really bring some sort of awareness, someone has to be held accountable when these things happen. Have to be held accountable. It's just not right.
Exactly. And I mean, it's all around the world. And like, I mean, from around the kid, like they have no camera where obviously there's cameras there, but they had no, they weren't able to actually use any of the cameras. Yeah.
No
Recordings.
CCTV. Yeah, some of the recordings, actually, we didn't show it, but there is actually a recording of the incident, and it gives the perspective of the tall raider and the small raider, and they've manipulated CCTV otherwise in relation to recognition of cars, and I think some of that went out last night, and people are very aware now that it couldn't have been Aaron's friend's car that was involved at the burn site and involved in stealing the car that was supposedly involved in the murder and the robbery. How those things were manipulated and allowed to happen was just like you would. I think it was Keelan coined the phrase, "We need a time machine for the actual burning out of the car to happen." It's very difficult. I know I've explained it, but if someone sees a vehicle passing now and it's already been burned a half an hour previously, and it got over the lane in the court, and these two sightings had absolutely no correlation, no connection. The identification of Aaron's friend, suspect A's car, it couldn't have proved any more clearly it wasn't his car. There was blue lights. I don't know if you remember. Remember the young boys used to have the blue lights in the front of, yeah. The witness said clearly, he says it on 12 occasions, that the bright blue lights are in the car. Aaron's friend didn't have that. He said the car was noisy. His car is silent. So the car couldn't have went up the little boreen that they said it couldn't have happened, and none of that was challenged as it went through trial at the end of January and into February. They got through all those witnesses real quick, threw this out that there was a BMW here, BMW there. Like, it didn't matter whose BMW it was just a BMW, and they got away with it, and just kept mentioning, and they vilified Aaron's friend. And even our legal team, to a certain degree, sort of went with that for no reason. This young man, he was a bit of a jack the lad, but he had a company in America. He had 40, 50 people working for him in America, and he came home during the winter. And this will all be correlated now as we move forward in our story. He had paid $270,000 tax that year. That was his tax. And we're expected to believe he's driving around in a £20,000 car, committing robberies and burglary. No. It's just not. It doesn't happen.
Oh, no. Yeah, people that are I mean, if you're paying that much tax, you can, add on a lot of money more to actually what you've earned.
Yeah, so we all that paperwork and everything will become available to the public, and as we move into the American aspect, and some of the things that have happened in America, Roy, are just crazy. I know I'm jumping from one to the other,
No,
but
but I mean that's it's okay.
yeah, that's the way it goes. So they got all this, the storyboard over the line, and they got the jury and the court to believe that Aaron and his friend were involved in burning the car, which we proved is virtually impossible. They got the jury and the court to believe that they were involved in stealing the car 2 nights before the murder. And the times I've shown last night on our vlogs, so it's there's 2 times that are virtually impossible. And then they have, just run through quickly, a 1 minute drive that takes 7 minutes after a car stolen. So you have 2 cars traveling at high speed, and they've just chopped and changed CCTV. We have a journey that takes 2 minutes and 30 seconds that took 38 minutes. And it was all
And
allowed.
I actually encourage people, and I give the links. I encourage people to look at your vlogs, because you're basically doing, I've just drove here. It took me X amount of time. They're saying it took 38 minutes. So, but just by looking at that, it doesn't add up. I mean, like, there's so many things that aren't adding up. Even the local farmers, because I remember you mentioning that in Ireland, they are like, when you're in a little kind of town, people are nosy. They know exactly. They'd nearly tell you what you had for breakfast, and they they didn't see the car burning. It's
yeah, it's we have our own. We have a lot of work to do on the car aspect of it, and again, it's one of the things that was very subtly done. Judge White just one day said, we'll take it for granted that the car stole. It is the car that was stolen in Clowerhead is the car that was used at the murder scene. Oh, the woman who seen the blonde girl, and she had the best view of the car. She actually said it was grey. Car stolen in Clowerhead was blue.
Was there somebody coming out of the credit union that saw this girl? Is that somebody that was working?
Yes.
Did they not have? I mean, like, all credit unions have cameras outside. Surely there would be something that would have seen.
Well, they've seen everything. It's all nearly in silhouette. It's just very poor quality CCTV. And no detail.
I find that hard for a credit union. Is it that you were told that, or were you able to actually get? Was your solicitors able to get that?
Well, we did get CCTV, and it was poor quality, and we assume that's just the way it was. So there's a lot of CCTV missing, and again, that's for another day. There's, I think we mentioned in on the Wednesday night when the car was stolen. There's massive gaps where there's no CCTV where there should be. If you take, for example, Termafeckin, for your listeners, it would be we're about 15-20 minutes from Dublin Airport, so it's quite an affluent. It's nice. It's a beautiful area, and some very nice properties along it, and no CCTV along that, no blobs light. Again, if your viewers get a chance and see some of the vlogs, the vast majority of the CCTV is just blobs of light. It could be anything. Yeah. It's just like that there. Many fingers am I holding up? And they're saying 2. Yeah, it's crazy. But we have to delve down, and even the detail we've gone into already, we'll have to dig down into more detail in nearly all those episodes again and break those down again. So there's over 1 million sheets of paper and 70,000 hours of CCTV.
That's unbelievable. And like, there's another thing that's I find is a critical part of this is it was a right hand. Did your son have something with his hand as well?
Yes, in the end of November, beginning of December, he had an operation on his right hand. He has pins and plates in his right hand. It would have been impossible 6 weeks later to run holding a shotgun and hold a shotgun. So that would be physically impossible. And he's actually nearly blind in his right eye. If Aaron was holding a gun up to his face, he would actually have to look with his left eye, because he's virtually blind in his right eye. So it's just not, we've proven, I think, beyond reasonable doubt, Aaron Brady did not shoot Adrian Donoghue. It's impossible. He's not, apart from that, he's not 6'1". He wouldn't have been able to carry the gun. He's blind in his right eye, and it wouldn't have been possible. It's not him.
And he's not. You were talking about America. Like, they didn't interview none of his close friends. It was all people that were kind of without the green card. So it seemed to me like they were kind of, tell this or you'll be extradited kind of thing. That's the way
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
reading through the lines, without knowing all the details. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's I suppose the main witness was Daniel Cahill. There are other witnesses, and we'll detail all those and go through all their stories. But Daniel Cahill came and gave evidence, and we were led to believe that this person came in voluntarily, and he was a good citizen and came to give evidence. He was pulled out of an attic in Woodlawn in New York, where he said he was for 3 hours. We have a whole issue, and again, this had to be broken down and run through it very quickly. The American agent, Homeland Security agent, Mary Ann Wade, was very, very evasive while she gave evidence. So we think they arrived at his property sometime around 7 a.m. in the morning, and he didn't arrive into Yonkers police station until 1:15 in the afternoon. So we have 6 hours. That's only a 15-minute drive, and that's allowing stopping for traffic lights and everything. So he was hiding in the attic naked in fiberglass insulation. So that in itself was a bit strange. There was cannabis plants found, and in the Yonkers report, it said that they were found in a hallway, and he admitted during the course of his cross-examination that they were actually in his apartment, in his office. And then by mistake, Mary Ann Wade, the agent who was handling his case, let slip that there were steroids found. Now, we do have a certain amount of information about Mr. Cahill and his involvement with steroids, which will, again, will roll out later on. And this is what we were dealing with. I think this illustrates well what we had to put up with. So Mr. Cahill had already given his evidence. Mary Ann Wade, the American agent, came forward. She was giving her evidence, and she was very evasive, and she let slip about the steroids. And lo and behold, the following morning, the senior investigating officer came to the court with a letter saying, oh, he knew about the steroids. So this happened in July. This was actually physically happening in the court. And this man, senior investigating officer, wrote everything. Now, we were there for 10 months. I watched him. He wrote everything down. Couldn't be any more meticulous. So his story was that on the 24th of September 2019, 14th of September 2019, he was over in New York. And the first he had found out about Mr. Cahill and the steroids was he got a report from Yonkers police station. He returned back to Ireland on the 27th of September, lodged these papers in the incident room, was writing a report on the 4th of October, and forgot about the steroids. We don't know how many steroids. We don't know if there's one
that's
steroid.
Something you would definitely forget about, isn't it?
So we don't know if there's one steroid, but I'm willing to say, Leiv, I have no problem saying Mr. Cahill had a quantity of steroids for supply. Now, I stand to be corrected in that, and I'll apologise to Mr. Cahill if I'm wrong, but I do believe Mr. Cahill had a quantity of steroids for supply, and it was brushed on the table. And Mr. Cahill was, his legal status at the time, it was they refused to tell us what his legal status was. He was illegal at that time, and he's still in America. And to give your listeners another taste of the crazy, there was a murder in Ireland 2 years previously, a man called Dean Evans, who was admitted and was convicted of the murder of a man called Peter Butterly. And when that happened, Homeland Security arrived at Mr. Cahill's apartment in New York looking for the murderer, Dean Evans. And he's still in New York. He wasn't legal at that time. So that in itself creates a serious issue. And we have pictures of Mr. Cahill with the murderer, Dean Evans, 10 days after, unfortunately, Adrian Donahue was murdered, and I think 16 days before Peter Butterly was murdered. So you're sitting with the murderer, and these people were involved in the Continuity IRA or DINLA. I'm not sure what the 32 County Sovereignty Committee was their official title, and Mr. Cahill led us to believe that he didn't know anything about the murder of Gard. Now, these people, I don't care what Mr. Cahill says, these people were speaking about a Gard being murdered. Without a shadow of a doubt. So that's what we had to sit and listen with. And this is the thing that I think this hurt Aaron the most, that people believed Daniel Cahill and didn't believe Aaron. Aaron was give testimony for 4 days. Very intense cross-examination for 4 days. And Aaron was just upset that the members of the jury believed Daniel Cahill and his involvement with these people, the drugs. We know he had a restraining order against people in relation to a machete attack in New York. And there's another very important incident that happened where Mr. Cahill and his friends attacked Aaron, and we'll highlight that and we'll prove that Mr. Cahill is the liar that I am now saying. Daniel Cahill, you're a liar. You told lies in court against my son. So, and I stand to be corrected on that, but our day will come. We'll get that across very clearly.
I mean, I've been, as I mentioned, I've been in a lot of court cases, and it sucks the energy out of it. Whether, no matter what, I mean, like, this is obviously 100 times different level, but just being on the stand, being grilled. I mean, I've had cases where I had sights taken off me and we were trying to get it back, and it was like the way the judges are talking to you, and it's horrible. Like, they just treat you like you're dirt. So I can imagine, like, 4 days, it is very tiring and painful and emotionally draining. And I, not only for your son, but for the whole family. I mean, you're all, you know, were you actually in the court? Are you witnessing the whole lot as well? Are you allowed inside? Yeah.
Yes, we were there. In fact, I think myself and Judge White, with only two, didn't miss a day. Aaron missed a half a day with an abscess, but I never missed a day. Caroline was there 99% of the days. She has to look after her mum also. I didn't miss a day in it. And witnessed what, and feel a little bit foolish now. I seen what was unfolding. But even right up till the week before, we thought Aaron was coming home. And then the atmosphere just changed. And obviously on the Monday, the verdict of guilty of the robbery came. And then we had the 2 or 3 days wait for guilty of capital murder. Like, we just never thought it was possible. Even from way back in 2013, well, you know, it'll lay on itself out, and they'll get the people who done it, and then he was deported from America. And then we got a brief look at some of the statements and the people who had given statements. And then we very quickly found out about their criminal records, their immigration status in America. Like, they should have been on the next flight home. There's 2 or 3 of those people who can't come to Ireland for various reasons because of their acquaintances before going to New York. So that'll all be highlighted, and those people, I'd be more than happy to have the conversation with them. But they told lies against my son for their own betterment. And I think I can say without any fear, if they were telling the truth and Aaron had told them these things, and they had to tell them to save themselves, I would understand that. But for them to tell lies, complete and utter lies, and the inaccuracies and everything, is just, I can't get angry with them. I just have to deal with it. There's no point getting angry. We just have to deal with it and go through it chronologically and correlate all the information and show it as it is.
And I think witnessed as well, did you, that? I mean, I've seen that it's like a game with some of the legal teams and the judges. It's like it's like a game. They just play a game. They're going home at night sleeping. They don't realize that they're dealing with people's lives and families, and you can see how they play, and it's horrible to witness. You know, I don't know what, some of these people, they don't have emotions, just the game. So you must have seen that as well when you were going through such a long court case.
We seen it, and the detectives involved in it, and again, this is what we can't understand. Like, someone shot their colleague and their friend. It wasn't Aaron Brady, and they know that. Like, it's proof positive it wasn't. So where do you go from there? Like, if someone hurt someone belonging to me, or it's like when we were playing football, you know, if the number 7 on the opposition is dishing out some some treatment to your colleagues, he has to be dealt with. That's, you could be a slight bit late the next time on the number 7. You don't just go and grab a sub and hit him. That's not the way life or emotion works, or that I can understand. I really can't. We can't understand it here. And as a family and our friends and our associates that's working with us. And I think that's what the public can't comprehend. Oh, sure, he must have done it. The guards wouldn't do that unless he done it.
Well, if you go back to the Morris McCabe case,
Yep.
like, who knows, maybe he was going to be exposing something. Like, unfortunately, there's a lot of information it'll be impossible to find out unless somebody internally is aware and has a conscience and kind of come out knowing that there's an innocent man, that's currently supposed to serve 40 years behind bars.
Yeah, and we're hoping, because the likes of the following our Facebook and the website, and they have to spread out a little further and ask more detectives to become involved, to call and contact people. I'm hoping, because when you're telling lies, the more people you tell the lie to, the better chance of that lie being exposed. And I think because they have to reach out further to try and possibly stop us doing this, they're involving more people. So, and hopefully the story we're telling, those people, there will be one of them, as you say, there will be one of them just might say, well, listen, let's sit down and have a look at this and see what's happening here. And that little bit of information is all we need just to start the ball rolling, because it's just a little wedge that's holding Aaron there now, and I think we can dislodge it and create a landslide.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, you're putting all the documentation together, you're gathering all the, like, it's not adding up. I mean, if you look at the vlogs and just read all the different things, like, you want, obviously the family of the murdered detective would prefer the actual proper people to be locked up. And, it's just, I mean, they must be, like, they're probably aware with the press and everything, because, I mean, you're getting press, but obviously not the right press, because, like, we see how they operate. I mean, I see it in all different aspects, how the media works, but, they must be hard for them as well, to be actually looking at this.
Yeah, I know they've gone through enough. What they've suffered is just absolutely horrendous. And just hope that, for their sake, that their colleagues will, come forward, and it would be fantastic to get a result that the person who did murder Adrian Donahue was brought to justice, for everyone concerned, for everyone, and for the good of the country. That's what we need. So we look forward to that day.
No, absolutely. Listen, Tony, I think people now will actually, just from what we've discussed, will get an idea this isn't adding up. I would highly encourage everybody to go. I mean, you've got your website behind you, and I'll put it on the podcast description.
Thank you.
But you're on the Facebook as well. The videos, you just look at the videos, and I even see your wife as well. I can see the pain this time. I mean, this is hard. I mean, you don't want to be doing this, obviously, but, like, you have no choice. You basically, it's your son, your flesh and blood that you're actually defending. And, like, I can see the pain even in with your wife when you're talking, like, but at the end of the day, all you're looking for is justice, and it's the only way. And, like, I'm behind you. I've read through all the stuff. I've seen all the different information, and I just, whether you think he's guilty or not, I would encourage everyone, look at the evidence, look at the videos you've done, and if you see all the different things, you can make your own conclusion. But I think it's not adding up, and I think, I hope justice prevails and that your son gets out as fast as possible.
Yeah. And we were aware of all these things as the court case was going on, and we were aware of them before the court case even started, and we had correlated some of them. And all we can do now is I just want the people to get the stuff that was in my head. Until I met Keelan and going to Ultramile, I had all this information. My head was exploding, and I just couldn't understand or how to tell the world. And hopefully now, as you say, it'd be fantastic if people just log on Justice for Aaron Brady and have a look. All we want you to do is just look at the information we're putting forward. We're not asking anyone to make any decisions. I just want us to have the information and have the whole story. not the bits that was curated and the bits that was put in the newspapers. And we've dealt with some of the information in regards to newspapers. I think the last thing was I went in to speak to guards. I was arrested for intimidation of witnesses. And again, as we unveiled the American aspect of the case, we had no need to intimidate anyone. All we're asking people is to tell the truth. I've never been in contact with any of these people. We just want them to come forward, tell the truth. And we are aware that people were offered, it was said in court, this paper was read out in court, an email from Ireland to USA. If they cooperate, keep them. If they don't, deport them. That's what the email. We were told there were no emails.
That in itself is a crime, because I mean, that's basically, do what you're told and you get to stay there. If you don't, you're coming home. So like, no matter what, at the end of the day, they're looking out for their own interest as well, not probably thinking long term of it's affecting the life of not only Aaron, but the whole family.
Oh, yes. And we understand where those people are coming from. We can understand the situation. They're in a room, they're in a house, they're in the back of a 4x4 in New York with 2 or 3 detectives from Ireland. And they're going home if they don't cooperate. And that may have something to do with the 6 hours Mr. Cahill was missing. He was in an attic in 70 degrees of heat. So that's just a little bit of it. There's a letter came to the court, another witness who said he was put under duress, not by the Bradys, by the authorities. Like that came from his lawyer. There is other evidence that from America we have to be very careful with at the moment that proves beyond any reasonable doubt there was inducements offered. And the judge was very aware of it. Like, he heard it quite clearly, but that'll come in due course.
Well, sometimes, I mean, I've witnessed, because I was in Ireland in the High Court for property, I listened to hundreds of cases, and I saw full corruption by judges knowing that there was corruption going on, and they just ruled in favor of the banks because they were told to. So, we have to be aware that the whole system is corrupt, and you have to basically get everything lined up to prove without a shadow of a doubt that they've got the wrong man.
Yes, yeah, and that's what we'll continue to do, and that's what we'll show, and we will show it, because we have the evidences there. We have no fears or no doubt about that. We have the evidence there. Aaron Brady's not your man, and we'll bring him home.
Perfect. Yeah, and I love that your community is behind you, and Aaron's partner, his parents are behind you. That helps. So, I think you're bringing him home to a lot of people that want them home. So
yes, but we have to stay focused and not get derailed and we have to be careful. We have to work with our legal team, obviously, but I do believe what we're doing, I know it keeps us sane, but I think it's going to be very important as we develop it and move into the political aspect of it and move and look for politics to look at it. We'll see then. And again, that'll be correlated and put on show for people to see how our politicians react when they're asked to, again, just the same as we're asking the public, have a look, see if this is right. Is this justice for anyone? Is this the way our country should be? So we'll ask that. It's a very simple question. Just, although there's an awful lot of information and detail and all those million sheets of paper and 70,000 hours of CCTV, a lot of which we can't get a hold of, by the way, but we will get it eventually because we've been told it's there. I have a list of it, so it exists.
They have to. Yeah. I mean, if the legal team requests it, they have to get it. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. So we look forward to all that. It will take us probably, I think, somewhere in the region another 2 to 3 months to get everything out, and then we'll correlate the story. And we have a lot of work to do with some of the work the media has done, both printed media and RTE. A lot of that has to be rebutted, and they have to be checked and asked why something was presented in such a way, and why this wasn't mentioned, why that, like these journalists, like the top journalists, not one of them asked Joe Ryan, were aware that you thought the gunman was 6'1" or 2. Aaron Brady's 5'6.5". How would you explain that?
Well,
Is that not?
like just
Is that
from
not
what's going
journalism?
on in the world, I think it's a disgrace if you're a journalist these days, because there's very few real journalists out there. They're all doing what they're told, and they're writing what they're told and playing the game. And unfortunately, we need, real journalists.
Yeah. And it's only a very simple question. He said it it's in his testimony. It's in his statement. It's there. No journalist stood up and said, I'm slightly confused here. Senior credit union worker said there was a 25-year-old woman. But we await for the further arrests. They say they're going to arrest these people and bring them forward. We wait it, and we'll deal with that as it happens, if it happens.
So, listen, Tony, it's been great. I'm going to keep in contact with you and
That's
keep up to
brilliant,
speed, and I'll keep the audience up to speed as well. So basically, justice for aaronbrady.com is the website that people can.
Yes, yeah, can contact us there, and Justice for Aaron, and follow all the Facebook. I'm afraid I'm not very tech savvy, so but we're on Facebook, and you can go and check all the little vlogs and all the details, and I hope the people will understand, even from this interview, you can see how scattergun it is. We move from the things that happen in Ireland to America, to some of the things that happen in the courtroom, and it is very scattergun, and please be patient with us. This is why we have to break it down, give it a little bite-sized piece of information, revisit it, review it, and then move forward. And I think we've the foundation now showing that physically it couldn't have been Aaron Brady and his friends. They haven't even got a 5-man gang or a 4-man and 1-woman gang. Those people don't exist. So we're moving into that now, and hopefully that when people have seen the physical evidence and now they realize, they don't have Aaron, there's no other 4 people who can be associated with Aaron who could have been there. It's impossible. They don't exist. So we'll break all that down, and I thank the people that are watching us and following us, and please keep comment, ask questions. Please feel free to do so, like and share, and we're not afraid of any questions. We can speak to anyone, and we look forward to more visitors to our site. And thanks to Roy for giving me the time. Very good of you.
Yeah, I encourage people to start following, supporting you, but I commend you on what you're doing, like both your family, the whole lot of you doing it. So keep the fight up, because we need this to happen, because by exposing this, so not only are you going to free your son, but it'll stop it happening to other people as well in the future. So we're there for you. We're all behind supporting you.
Lovely, thank you. And I better thank Caroline and the girls, my 2 daughters, and Caroline. They've been fantastic, and what doesn't break us will make us stronger. So we're a very strong family. We're going to stay until we get this done. Perfect. So thanks to Caroline, Sonia and Irene. They've been fantastic, and we love Aaron, and we're going to bring him home.
Lovely. Okay, listen, it's been great. Thanks a million.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you.
That's all for the Awakening podcast. You'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. We're on BitChute, we're on YouTube. Be sure to share with your friends. Share this with everybody. Tag, it all helps. And until next week, take care.